Hey, Urban Politics. I'm your host, Fizz and Music. You know what it is. It is the New Year's Eve episode. So it'll be 2021 when you get this. Because I'll probably, do the show right here. And then I'll post it in a minute here. But, yeah, let's get right into it. There's plenty to talk about, and don't worry, I'll be coming at you same time, same black channel on Sunday, but you'll probably get it Monday morning. Urban Politics will be back on schedule, and it'll be 2021. There'll be a whole bunch of fresh politics to talk about. So, let's go ahead and start it off. Let's get right into it like a corn drive. I want to talk about Tamir Rice, Breonna Taylor. The two cops who shot and killed, oh my Lord, Tamir Rice. Saddens me every time I think about it, every time I talk about it. Both of those guys will face no federal charges. I'm sure nobody is surprised by that. I'm not surprised by it. You ain't anybody surprised by that. It's sad. It's why things need to change in this country. That's why in any given time you can see a bunch of people protesting in any downtown in these great USA, great states of ours, because of stuff like that. That is ridiculous. That was a 12-year-old black kid. Somebody made a call about him having somebody at the park having a gun. The cops rolled up. Within seconds, they killed the kid. They didn't ask him any questions. They didn't read him his rights. They didn't say hello. None of that. You know, as soon as they rolled up, gun out. And there's also been a case recently with a young man who got killed and didn't have to, I think it might have been an older gentleman, but he got killed by the police and he didn't even get, a 10-second conversation from these guys. So this has to stop. It's been going on. Unfortunately, it's commonplace in this country. I'm sick of it. You sick of it. There's people protesting day and night because they're sick of it. So let's do better, America. The cops who killed Breonna Taylor, they got fired. That's a good first step. I like that as a step number one. Step two, let's get some prosecution. You know what I'm saying? I mean, seriously, these guys killed a person. They ran up in the woman's house and they murked her in her sleep. So come on, okay? They've been fired, big whoop. They lost their jobs, okay. I'm glad to know that they lost their livelihoods. They shouldn't be allowed to be police officers anymore. But they also need to go ahead and face some prosecution because they took a life. You can't give one, so you can't take one. She had a sculpture in Oakland that was vandalized, of course, by some racists, mad about her. And then some people put in the comments, and I agree with them, they said it probably was some cops, because I'm sure there's some cops out there who have the audacity to be mad that the guys who did this to her are, lost their jobs or are coming under some retribution. Even when, if you, do a little research, you'll find out that these same cops had did this before. They ran up in somebody else's house by accident and shot the place up. Just didn't happen to be anybody home that time. Nobody died that time. But this last time, somebody did. Miss Taylor died. See what I'm saying? So it is what it is. They were talking about, the artist who did the sculpture, because, the sculpture, it was vandalized in Oakland. It was a white man who did the sculpture. He's devastated. He took it as a personal attack. He was like, because the sculpture was very personal for me. He did it for the Black Lives Matter movement. He believes that Black Lives Matter, all that good stuff. Great guy. So, he was hurt that they banged up a beautiful piece of art. And then he was saying that he has a GoFundMe and they're trying to raise like $5,000. $5,000. He can redo the bust of Breonna Taylor in bronze. And that would make it harder to destroy. That's good, and that'd be really, really fresh to a bronze bust of the young lady. That'd be amazing. So, know what I'm saying? If you got a little extra money in your pocket and you want to give to a great cause, that brother has a GoFundMe for that. But it's a shame that not only, I'm like, okay, some cops ran up in the middle of the night and they took the lady's life, but then some of y'all there is mad because she has a bust commemorating her. So then you got to go bust that up too. You so mad about what? She's the victim. She's the one who got shot to death in her home while she was asleep. She's the victim. So I don't understand why her mural has to be, or the bust of her has to be further victimized. Welcome to America. Anyway, moving on. I want to talk about the Christmas Nashville bomber. I don't know what else to call this guy. It was Christmas. He was in Nashville, and he let off a bomb in a camper. Wow, I don't get it. His name was Anthony Warner. The only reason I say his name and would talk about him here on the show like that, because usually when I talk about incidents like this, I would not say the person's name because I don't want to give them any accolades. It's not that I want to give this guy any accolades, but I really feel like there's no need to hide his name because I don't know what he got out of this. If you don't know the situation, let me just go ahead and give you the soundbite. There was a female voice that was warning people about 15 minutes before the blast went off in this camper, and I guess there were police working in the area, and they even have video because you can see the one cop hearing, the lady's voice, and she's saying that you have 15 minutes before a bomb goes off. Please get away. Seek shelter. Blah 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 blah. That's wild. And then the bomb goes off, and then they're wondering, was this connected to maybe the 5G conspiracy? Maybe this guy was tripping about that because he did it in front of an AT&T building, which is like, okay. He did it in the Nashville, I think, entertainment district, but he did it at a time when hardly, of course, nobody was out there. Thanks to COVID, nobody's out there anyway. So that's interesting, though. They picked a time when specifically nobody would be out there. There was a warning before the blast went off. The only people hurt or person hurt was him. So it was labeled a suicide bombing. Yeah, it should be, because the only person who got hurt was him, which is bizarre because usually when somebody does a suicide bombing, they're trying to create damage, which he did. They're trying to get attention, which he got, but they usually also want to hurt others. Or usually want to, I don't know, make other people a mark, something. It's very interesting to me that this gentleman only hurt himself and then gave out a warning before the bomb went off. And then I guess, and then damage to the AT&T building. Well, somebody should have told him AT&T got plenty of money and plenty of insurance. All you did was mess up their lobby for a day or two. I'm sure the person who runs that building was on the phone to the insurance company the next day. Like, please go survey the damage and have us good to go in a week or two. Thank you. Ain't nothing but a thing. That's why they pay them insurance premiums. They got insurance on that building. So I don't know what this guy was thinking, but if he was trying to send some type of message, his neighbor, whatever, was saying that he didn't necessarily know the guy. Nobody really knew this guy. Nobody's really close to this guy. He said he had a conversation about 2021 being a good year or something. And he said, yeah, and everyone will know my name or something like that. But this just, I cram to understand this. It's like MC Light. I cram to understand it because I don't get it. What was going on here? And then, like I said, the only person who got hurt was him. Now, that's a travesty. But what was the message he was trying to send by doing this on Christmas in the heart of Nashville? I don't know. That's weird. But it is what it is. Moving on, our prayers are with his family. Thoughts and prayers with his family. I'm in front of some local news. Well, some news, period. Because I was going to talk about some local news. In the local news, I wanted to talk about the Long Street mural. Now, maybe you knew. Maybe you didn't know. Now you'll know. Now you'll find out. There are people mad about Lincoln's face being on the mural. Now, it's the Bronzeville mural because that area of town is known as Bronzeville. I did not know that until recently. Well, until a little while ago when I read this article. They were saying that Lincoln's face on that mural, and when you go down Long Street, you'll see it because it has a lot of prominent black figures, but it has Martin Luther King on one end, and then it has Abraham Lincoln on the other end. And both of those are the biggest and most prominent faces on the mural. It's a lovely mural. The artistry is beautiful. Some of the other people who are featured there, some are known, some are little known. I like that. Some of them people I didn't know they were. I had to go look it up. That's good. I like to learn when I'm looking at a mural about black history, so that was good. But some people mad to see Lincoln's face up there so prominently displayed, and some people think it was a nod to gentrification. Now, for those of you who don't know what gentrification is, I guess they were saying that most other big cities in America have went through gentrification. Columbus is kind of late to the party, like we always are, because this is Slowlumbus, believe it or not. But gentrification is when you have wealthier white folk coming in to your urban areas and thus regentrifying the area. And then that's a good thing because the neighborhood tends to look a little bit better. You hopefully get some neighbors who quote unquote care about where they live in, so they make sure the grounds are clean and things like that. But then, you know what I'm saying, rental rates go up, and then you have people who have been living there for years. This was crazy. Then you have people who've been living there for years, and they can't afford to live there anymore because other people have come in and driven up the rental rates. So there's that. I had heard a lady talk about it years ago because she was talking about a neighborhood in D.C. that was being gentrified, and she said gentrification is the best and worst thing that has happened to black neighborhoods. She's like, because you have people come in and the neighborhood looks a lot nicer and it's a lot cleaner, but then these same people come in and they drive up rental rates, and then people who have lived there all their lives can't afford to live there anymore. So that's what's going on. And I guess they were saying that, unbeknownst to me, this was a little history of my own city, of a place I used to live. I used to live off of Mount Vernon not too long ago. Mayor Coleman, here's a caveat. Mayor Coleman. Well, here's a caveat on top of a caveat. Mayor Coleman. I do know the guy. He's a nice guy. I know his kids. His kids are nice people. Nice family. Do I agree with everything that's went on with him politically? Nah. But he's still a nice guy. And he's the longest running African-American mayor in America. That's huge right there. Hats off to him. I didn't even know that. But that was interesting right there. And I was like, when I think about it, he was mayor forever, for a long, long time. We got Andy Ginther now. Andy Ginther. And he seems to be cool because he's kind of walking right in the footsteps of Coleman. But, yeah, Coleman was good, man. He was the longest running African-American mayor in America. That's interesting. Kudos to him for that. So there's that. But what he did is he renamed Bronzeville. So he renamed it from Bronzeville to the King Lincoln District. Now, I've always really just known it as the King Lincoln District. I didn't even know that it was called Bronzeville. Now, I do know the long, thick history that Mount Vernon has of before they built the freeway through there, and or the freeway was through there, but they cut off the access or whatever, and they ended up changing it and drove away and drove down a lot of the community and messed it all up the way they did a lot of black neighborhoods in the 70s. So I knew about that, but I didn't necessarily know that it was called Bronzeville, and I didn't know that Coleman's thing was to change the name to King Lincoln District, and they said that he did that to attract new residents, and they said he did. He attracted some new residents. He attracted some new money to the area. So some people like that, some people don't like that. They're saying, he did that, it pushed up the rental rates, and then they say there's a lot of people in that area now flipping houses for 4 times what they're worth. I know that to be true. I know some people who have done that. So there's that, and that's also a plus and a minus of gentrification. You have people coming in doing that, and some of those people who have done that, I'm sure will be like, well, that's a great thing. I saw a good deal and was able to get in on it. Here's a neighborhood that's turning around. Why would I not be able to capitalize on that? But then you have people who live there who are now like, man, well, that house over there just sold for such and such. My house is not appraising for that. They said that my house won't appraise for that because of such and such. Or I have to move out of the house and they're going to move up the rental rate because now my house is appraising for such and such. So there's that. You know what I'm saying? So I understand it's a double-edged sword. It is what it is. There's a woman by the name of Melissa Crum. She's the founder of the Mosaic Education Network. Brilliant young lady. I was reading the article and I was impressed by some of the stuff she said. What she said is, we have a national conversation around Lincoln and his ally for African Americans, which is a little overstated. And they were saying that she was referring to when Lincoln discussed sending slaves back to Liberia in 1854, or to colonize Central America in 1862. Now, I tell people all the time, Lincoln didn't necessarily love the slaves. There was a lot of different reasons why he freed the slaves. And he did go on record as saying that if I could keep the Union together and not free the slaves, I'm paraphrasing, if I could keep the Union together and not free the slaves, then I would, So, you know what I'm saying? I don't think, and you know what, I had a history teacher, a white history teacher, and he opened up that whole section on Lincoln and the Civil War and all that, said that Lincoln was not in love with black people. That is not why he freed the slaves. Now, I'm going to tell you, I think one of the biggest reasons Lincoln freed the slaves is because he was trying to win a war. And back in those days, these days, the way you win a war is because your toys are better. The United States has some of the best toys on the planet. I mean, we got stuff that's wild. We got stuff that could kill you in your sleep. We got some of the most amazing gadgets and trinkets on the planet. So don't nobody want to mess with our government. That's the reason why we win wars. But back in those days, they didn't have all that. What they had? People power. People power. The guy with the most people is probably going to win. So he needed some warm bodies to help fight a war. And he got that. You know what I'm saying? Because as soon as he freed the slaves, what happened? They started enlisting in the war. You know what I'm saying? They was ready to fight for this country. There it is. So I think that was one of the biggest reasons he did it. That's just my opinion. But I see where she's coming from. You know what I'm saying? I definitely understand, and she's right. And I do think there's been a little romanticizing of Martin Luther King's relationship with black people. Moving on. Moving on. She also said, and this was amazing too. I'll make sure that I quote her correctly. She was saying that what did she say? She said that I always told myself that the King Lincoln neighborhood was not named after Abraham Lincoln, but a local black person with the last name Lincoln, because naming a black neighborhood after Abraham Lincoln is irresponsible and lacks historical context. That's deep right there. That's why I wanted to quote that verbatim. That sister really, she explained it right there perfectly. I couldn't have articulated that better myself. You know what I'm saying? Right there, what she said. Because naming a black neighborhood after Abraham Lincoln is irresponsible and it lacks historical context. And that's true. But once again, welcome to America. Stories get handed down. Variations of stories get handed down. In this country, we're not too much into reading. We're not too much into research. These days, we have a whole political party who has done away with facts. We're not interested in facts. So this is what you get. You know what I mean? You get a lot of shady, wonky history. And that's what a lot of Americans have. Sometimes when I'm watching some of these cartoon shows or other little comedy shows, they'll talk about history and it'll always just be silly stuff. They'll make jokes like, oh, Abraham Lincoln, I'll tell you, but he was the only president out there fighting those vampires. And people laugh about stuff like that. Because most people, I would hope, know that they're making a joke because there was a movie about him fighting vampires. And I actually heard that the movie was pretty good. This was sad too. We'll talk about that later. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But that's a joke, but I guarantee you that there's some people who really probably think that Abraham Lincoln fought vampires because, Hollywood and everything else just gets so conflated, here in America, and people just get real history screwed up with fake history. And then you have people who propagate fake news and fake information for their own purposes and whatnot. So it is what it is. It really gets tiring. But, sadly enough, I really agree with that. So that is what it is. And the name ain't changing. It ain't changing. This whole thing was interesting to me because I remember when I saw the mural, that is the first thing that went on in my head. I said, why is Lincoln so prominent on there? Abraham Lincoln, I'm like, okay, he's a cool guy. And he did, free the slaves, but and then I was like, okay, well, it is the King Lincoln district. I guess that's why King is so big on, not King, but Lincoln is so big on there because, whatever, King Lincoln district. But I just didn't, I don't know. It's kind of unsettling to me that Abraham Lincoln had that much real estate on that mural. Anyway, moving on. I want to talk about sports, which I never talk about because I really don't give a damn about sports. My sports is politics. I tell people that all the time. But all of my friends get into sports. Everybody gets into sports. I'm sure plenty of y'all get into sports. So let's talk about some sports. I'm sure y'all can tell me even better about this than what I'm about to report on it. Or maybe you haven't even heard of this. Maybe you have. Have you ever heard of a gentleman by the name of Anthony Booger McFarland? Booger. Booger. His middle name is Booger. Like dude from Nerds always had his hands up his nose. Booger. That's what this brother's going by. Anthony Booger McFarland. All right, let that simmer around in your brain. Anyway, moving on. He made some comments, and his comments were directed at young black players. And this is a black man. This is a brother. This older brother. And he was saying that coming into the league, they need to take it seriously. He said it's a game about where billions are involved. He said instead of coming in asking, how can I be a better player? How can I be a better teammate? How can I be a better person? He said they're coming in and all they can think about is, how can I build a social following? How can I build a brand? Well, I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Now, let me draw back and give all this some context. He was making these comments because he was commenting on how this the Washington football team, which is aka the Washington Redskins, which they had to change their name, so that's what they've been going by because they couldn't come up with a name. The Washington football team. Wow. Anything would have been better than that. The Washington Red Couches would have been better than that, but whatever. So that team, they released a guy named Dwayne Haskins from his contract. And I guess this guy was trying, was aiming his comments at him, saying that brothers be on Instagram flexing, but then when the game comes around, they're not ready. So he's saying they put all this time, this effort into their brand and what they look like on social media and all of that, but they ain't really into the game. And then when game time comes, they ain't got the goods to perform on the field. And then he was saying that he'd like to see more African Americans focus on the billions in this game. For what? The billions in this game? For who? None of these brothers playing the game are making billions. They're not making billions. They're making several hundred millions, some of them, but they're not making billions. First, if these young brothers are coming into this sport, if there's any young person these days coming into any sport and they're thinking of their social media brand, good job. That's what they need to do. Especially a sport like football. Are you serious? Football, where we already know these brothers go into this thing. They get banged up, they get beat up, they get nothing. If your knee gives out, if you get banged around in your head and you can't remember who you are or where you live from minute to minute, you're done. You might get some money, but then you can get on and figure out a way to live like that. And there's plenty of stories of guys living like that. So cut the games. Talking about they need to think about the billions in this game. Ain't no billions in it for them. There's billions in it for the owners. Yeah, them people are making billions. And I would hope that these young brothers don't go in there thinking, oh, I got to think about how the owner's feeling. Oh, I got to make sure that I do a good job and be a good employee for this owner. Are you serious? You better go in there thinking about how I can start selling some shoes like Kanye West. You better go in there thinking about how I can get a bunch of followers on the net, because at the end of the day, when you get kicked off that team, you still got those followers. When you get kicked off that team, you still got them tennis shoes. Don't sign a tennis shoe deal. Go somewhere and start making your own shoes and you put them out. See what I'm saying? So this guy, he got it twisted. But like I said, he's an older brother. So in his mind, he probably feels like, yeah, hit yourself to that wagon and you'll be okay. That's how people did it back in the day. Some of these guys, they were having nice long careers and they were able to retire with good money. All they had to do was be loyal to the club or loyal to the franchise. Get that out of there. You better be loyal to yourself, because at the end of the day, the only one who cares about you is you. So even to this brother, Dwayne Haskins, I don't know what his deal is or what he was doing. I don't follow football, basketball, baseball, or none of that. But right here in your situation, if you were looking out for yourself, God bless you, sir. And that's what you better do. Because believe it, ain't no team gonna look out for you. And I don't know what this brother talking. I don't know what. I'm not gonna go there. I was gonna say something, but I'm not gonna go there. I don't know what this brother talking about though. But you know what I'm saying. But the last thing he need to be doing is giving other young brothers advice on how to not put themselves first. Please put yourself before these ball clubs that you working for. Please put yourself before this NFL team that bought you, can trade you in a heartbeat, and will leave you logo the minute you can't catch or run a ball. So anyway, moving on. I mean, I just think that's ridiculous. I thought that was just bad advice, and I don't know what this guy's just talking about. Last but not least, last thing I'm going to talk about is COVID. It's still out there. It's still hurting people. It's still killing people. I want to tell everybody, please be safe. Like I said, this is New Year's Eve. This is the New Year's Eve episode. I got the news on behind me. You can see, what's this, 44 degrees? Is that here in New York? I'm not sure. But it's a nice day. I'm looking outside. It ain't so bad. You know what I'm saying? So people probably going to be out partying. Please wear a mask. Please social distance. I know that's falling on some deaf ears. I was looking at the news and I saw a house full of people, a huge house party. And back in the day, that party looked amazing. I would have loved to have been at it back in the day. These days, you could not have paid me to be at that party, because there was a million people there who I didn't know from a can of paint, and I don't get down like that. Not right now with COVID running rampant. So there's that, man. Be safe, please. Protect yourself, protect each other. Moving on. there was a memo that was tracked in the White House, and this was back in July. And in the memo, they were saying things like, "We want them infected," talking about kids, middle-aged people. We want to start this herd immunization. Can you believe that? Herd immunity. That is ridiculous. But herd immunity, they say, has always been what they wanted to do. They said it's always been the White House's idea on how to handle this thing, and it's a horrible idea. Herd immunity, that means that a whole lot of people have to get it before this immunity takes place. A whole lot of people, and that's just not safe or smart. But that's been their idea from jump, this herd immunity thing. And that's why I think they've been holding back vaccines. That's why, they were talking about how there's vaccines on the shelf or whatever that they're just not giving out, and they don't understand why they're not giving it out. They just said that for whatever reason the White House is holding back on them. I think that's what's going on. I truly do. I'm telling you. Because why else would they be holding back on vaccines if they haven't not given them out? That doesn't make any sense. So there's that. Here's some more bad news. 65,000 COVID deaths in December alone. They say we are poised to have 500,000. That's 500,000 Americans dead by inauguration. That's January 20th. 500,000 Americans will have caught the coronavirus and died. Joe Biden wants 100 million arms stuck his first 100 days in office. I was like, whoa, Joe, that's pretty lofty. 100 arms stuck your first 100 days in office. Maybe. Maybe. Could happen. We'll see. It could happen. We'll see. I don't know. Like I said, that's pretty lofty there. I'm like 100 arms in 100 days. We'll see. I'm going to say, it's been 4 years since I've seen a government that works worth a quarter. So maybe when one that steps in that isn't just a grab, just isn't just half, just isn't lame, maybe I'll see some real work being done, and I'll believe that it can be done. But for right now, I don't know if I believe a government being able to pull off 100 people vaccinated in 100 days. I hope I'm wrong. So there's that. That's what he wants to do. People giving it to people who are not first on the list. If you didn't know, people who are first on the list are like your first responders, are elderly. They should be first on the list. If you 65 and you a nurse, you need the vaccine. I do not. If you're a doctor, you need the vaccine, and I do not. If you have COVID right now, you need the vaccine, and I do not. So why would you be giving it to people like me who don't need it? Please give it to our first responders. Please give it to our elderly. Please give it to people who have other conditions, and COVID would just complicate things and probably definitely kill them because of the other condition they have going on. So it's a shame that people are trying to take them out of order or give them whoever they feel should have them first. Don't do that. And people shouldn't be greedy about this thing, because you're not just being greedy about food or money. You're being greedy about life. You being greedy is the difference between somebody living or dying. So think about that. Stop the life you save may be your own. Here's a hospital worker. I know you've seen it. It's been all over the net. Hospital worker claimed, no, I take that back. This is a different story. I'll get to that in a minute. But it was a hospital worker. I was reading this before I came on today. Was claimed that they left a bunch of COVID vaccines outside the freezer. So ergo, they didn't get chilled like they were supposed to. They said 500 samples had to be thrown away. Then later on, that same person came out and said it wasn't an accident. It was done purposefully. Why would somebody do that? Why? Because people are crazy. And this same person is probably being amped up off the president and some of these other anti-vaxxers. And they probably were like, yeah, I'm getting rid of this vaccine because it's all a hoax. There is no coronavirus, and they're just using this to get your DNA and blah, 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 blah. So I'm throwing out 500 samples. So now we done lost 500 samples. And we're already down a bunch of samples. And we needed more samples. And we don't have those samples. So there's that. Welcome to America. Madness. Okay, moving on to this story. And this is my last point that I'm making. It's almost time for me to get out of here. There's a black lady on the internet. I know you've seen her. I've seen her too. And she's talking about how she's a nurse at a hospital and she took the vaccination, and then like half of her face was drooping, like she had a stroke or something. And she said it gave her Bell's palsy and all this other stuff. Oh my Lord. I don't know if that's true or not. Like I said, I've seen it on the internet. 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9 million people shared it to me. I still don't know if it's true. You don't know if it's true. It's just more stuff on the internet. Once again, welcome to 2020, man. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't trying to take the vaccination because I don't need it. Like I said, I'm an essential worker. I've been working this whole time and I feel just fine. Glory be to God. But it definitely doesn't make me want to get vaccinated when I hear stories like that. And like I said, I don't know if it's true or not, but I don't know if it's fake. So that is what it is. So I don't know what to tell you, you know. Once again, protect yourself and protect each other. I'm your humble host, Phys Ed Music, and this has been Urban Politics. And that was some random news that was going on while I was bringing you some random news of the week. I'm about to get on out of here. Go ahead and start your revelry, start your party. This is New Year's Eve. When I come to you again, it'll be 2021. So please, everybody, party safely, wear a mask, social distance, don't drink and drive, don't take any wooden nickels. A stitch of 9 saves time. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. See you around like a donut.